ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
Well, we're back after a day of baseball excitement. Opening day is always fun, isn't it? But we're back now. My name is Paul Swann. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. For this Friday, March 31st, we've made it. We're getting into April after today. And we had a lot of football to get into as spring practice continues for a multitude of teams, including the Thundering Herd. We're going to probably get into basketball with you in just a moment. And we're going to open up our text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. You know, let's start with baseball, though. Yesterday, the opening day game, usually hosted by the Reds. They usually get the honor of being one of the first teams. They always, for the most part, get to host at home. And your Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Reds 5-4. So both teams have off today. The series will resume Saturday and Sunday. And, of course, we have got also March Madness. It's going to wrap up this weekend as well. So we'll have the game on Sunday. We'll also have March Madness on Saturday and on Monday. So it's going to be a busy weekend for us there. How many of you stayed up last night, watched the NIT final from Las Vegas? It's just weird to see the NIT final in Las Vegas. I mean, Madison Square Garden, that's the home. That's the Mecca. That's the home of the NIT. But there was hockey going on last night at Madison Square Garden, and the NIT was in Las Vegas playing hoops. North Texas winning the NIT 68-61. Conference USA, the winner here. UAB, how about that? Great season, but North Texas getting it done. And guess what? Grant McCasland, hired as Texas Tech's new coach Friday. He's got a 6-year contract. That is right after leading North Texas to the NIT title, the first 30-win season for North Texas. Under Grant McCasland, North Texas was 135-65 in 6 seasons. But this makes sense for him because he's got a master's degree from Texas Tech. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. So Conference USA has won the CBI. Also, first and second place, or runner-up, in the NIT. And FAU is in the Final Four, with a possibility of playing for the national championship. If you're Conference USA right now, life is grand. And if you are also Conference USA, you're thinking, we're losing so much in conference realignment, but let's enjoy it as we have it right now. Let's enjoy it. The Sun Belt, however, not so fortunate this season in postseason play. And I don't know if that had to do anything with the news we got yesterday, but Marshall is losing one of its key returnees, freshman of the year, Micah Handlogten, entering the transfer portal. That's a big blow for the Thundering Herd. Let's just go ahead and say what it really is. That's a huge loss for the Thundering Herd. If you look at what he brought to the table, he was out on the court over 25 minutes a game. He was a starter all season long. And he was defensively one of your best players. He was almost a double-digit rebounder. He had 75 blocks. He chipped in when he needed to with points. Defensively, he was solid not just on the glass, but also takeaways. He was a really phenomenal player for the Thundering Herd out there, and this is going to be a big blow for Marshall. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but this is huge to lose Micah Handlogten. So the Sun Belt Conference Freshman of the Year put out on Twitter, loved every minute I played in the CAM, will forever be a son of Marshall, but he has put himself into the transfer portal. So we'll get your text in. Let's just do that. Text line, I'm going to open that up right now. We'll get that started here. 304-396-TALK. 304-396-8255. How big of a loss is this for Marshall basketball? Do you blame the kid for getting in transfer portal? Was the situation going to get better for him at Marshall, or is he going to take advantage of his standing with the team, being one of the top players and freshman of the year in the Sun Belt, and maybe find an opportunity where he can maybe grow, showcase himself? I don't know what the ultimate decision was. So the text line again, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We did get some basketball news that was good yesterday. Tavion Kinsey named to the 2023 Lou Henson All-American team. He was a finalist for the Lou Henson Award, which is given to the nation's top mid-major player. He was named a Lou Henson All-American on Thursday, and Louisiana's Jordan Brown took home the Lou Henson Award. You can't deny why Brown got that award. You look at what he was able to accomplish with Louisiana, and I would rather have Kinsey on my squad than Brown. If I had to pick one, I'm picking Tavion. But Louisiana also got into the NCAA tournament. So won the conference tournament and then won the right to go into the NCAA tournament. You look at some of the things and go, okay, well, Louisiana had a better season. So all things being equal, you probably lean towards Brown if you're voting for this. But I would take Tavion Kinsey any day. Just if I'm putting the team. Now, if I could get both of them on the same team, I would be all right. Yeah, that stuff's important. It really is, because how many Marshall players maybe by circumstance have been overlooked or maybe good but not great in the eyes of voters when it comes to some of these postseason awards or some of these accolades? Now, if you ask most of these kids, they want to win for the team. They don't want to win individual awards. These things are nice, though. If Jordan Brown doesn't get in the NBA and Tavion Kinsey does, is anyone going to look back and go, "Oh, hey, but he's a Lou Henson Award winner"? I mean, it's a great honor. It's a great award, but where Tavion Kinsey wants to end up, I think if he makes it in the NBA, that's going to really be the ultimate prize for him. So good news there. Bad news for Micah Handlogten entering the transfer portal. Our text line's already filling up. We'll get some of those in. 304-396-TALK. 304-396-8255. Texter writes in and says, Paul, I think it's important to remember that players entering the transfer portal isn't necessarily a bad thing. Handlogten has the right to explore other opportunities and find a program that's a better fit for him. Marshall has a talented roster, and it's possible that he wasn't getting the playing. Are you kidding me? He was going to be one of the feature athletes. Are you kidding me? Texter adds, or development he needed. You lost me on playing time. Because I really believe that he was going to get. I mean, he what 25 minutes already? He was getting 25 minutes. I don't think that's it. Development, I don't know. There. You lost me on playing time. I really thought he was going to get more playing time. Just, you had to. You had to see more playing time from him. Because he would have gotten better, and the team really would have been able to lean on him a lot more, especially with a guy like Tavion Kinsey gone. You got Andrew Taylor, I think, coming back. With Andrew coming back, and if you would have had Handlogten coming back, those would have been two of your core players there. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. From the text line, Paul, it's disappointing to see Dan D'Antoni fail to keep Micah Handlogten on the team. D'Antoni needs to take a long, hard look at his coaching style and figure out what he needs to do to keep his players motivated and invested in the team. His inability to do so has resulted in the loss of a valuable player, and it's not the first time this has happened. It's time for the university to start holding D'Antoni accountable for his lack of results and find someone who can actually get the job done. Again, they gave him a 3-year deal because he was one game away from winning the regular season championship. Of course he didn't get that last game and then get into the tournament, and Marshall didn't get the tournament bid because Marshall lost its first game. And so no postseason for the Thunder. I mean, if that's what we're talking, just for clarity, is that what we're talking about? Lack of results? No postseason? We'll keep the text line open. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I try to screen them as we go, so make them good. More coming up. Oh, hey, and by the way, just before I forget, we got Ari Agnus coming up here in about 15 minutes or so. Marshall volleyball in action tomorrow. I'm not so sure about softball schedule change there. We'll get you caught up on that. But at least we know there shouldn't be any rain inside the Cam Henderson Center tomorrow for Marshall volleyball. Ari Agnus will join me in about 15 minutes. We'll take more of your text. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. More coming up on this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're taking your text this hour at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Yesterday, Micah Handlogten, the Sun Belt Freshman of the Year, entered his name into the transfer portal, and we're getting your responses in. Again, that number, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. And still to come, Ari Agnus, Marshall women's volleyball coach, joins us to talk about matches happening at the Cam Henderson Center tomorrow with Kentucky Christian. Back to the text line. Paul, let me tell you something. Dan D'Antoni has really dropped the ball with Micah Handlogten entering his name in the transfer portal. He should have done more to keep him on the team. It's clear that D'Antoni lacks the ability to retain talented players and build a strong team. Back to the text line. Hey, Paul, I have a mixed feeling about Micah Handlogten's decision to enter the transfer portal. On the one hand, it's always tough to see a player leave a program, but on the other hand, it's important for players to do what's best for their careers and personal growth. Marshall has a great basketball program, but if Micah feels that he needs a change of scenery to thrive, then that's his decision. We'll just have to wait and see what happens next. And you can add to the conversation 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I also take your responses off Twitter. You can join me on Twitter at Paul Swann. Let's get some of your comments and reactions there. I asked Herd fans on the community page that's linked to my account how we feeling about Micah Handlogten entering the portal. First response, not happy initially, but in today's world, being able to adapt to change is a must-have trait. People, processes, and programs have to embrace change to be successful. We need to use the tools to our benefit. Also from Twitter, I'm feeling pain. Tremendous amounts of pain. Also from Twitter, just one word, sad. So Rich on Twitter is feeling sad. Russ on Twitter says, not happy with it for sure. I'm not mad at him because I support the idea of the portal, but I was looking forward to him being here for 3 more years and watch him develop. I thought he would give us a good foundation and help our rebounding and interior defense. Patrick says, it's kind of what it is now with the landscape of college athletics and the portal. You get fortunate and have that wonderful mix in a given year. Better make the most of it now more than ever. Harder to build for those special type seasons consistently. And Pete says, inevitable. He is looking for postseason play, i.e. NCAAs or NIT, along with being at a program that has a developed history with moving players to the next level. Something Marshall does very infrequently. With the portal as is, this will not be unusual. North Carolina's lost 6. That's from Twitter. You can add more. You can find me on Twitter at Paul Swann. Also, we've got a community feed. I have a community feed where I just tweet about Marshall stuff. Not everybody that follows me necessarily into all the Marshall stuff. So I've got a community feed where I tweet about nothing but Marshall stuff, and you can join it as well. It's free. It's a feature of Twitter. So I'll be checking that and asking you questions there often. And, of course, our text line is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter says, I think the important thing for Dan D'Antoni now is to focus on the future and continue building a strong team. Losing Micah is undoubtedly a blow, but there are always talented players out there who can step up and contribute to the team. Dan has a great track record of developing players and getting the best out of his team, and I have no doubt that he'll do the same this time around. So, sort of a mix. Most people understand that player leaving, got to do what's best for the player. Some of you on board with Dan D'Antoni don't think that he's really the one at fault here. Some of you seem to think that maybe this is a Dan D'Antoni issue. Some of you think where Marshall's not going to be consistently getting in the postseason, or Marshall's not consistently getting players in the NBA, that might have played into this as well. So you can join the conversation. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter writes in, this is maybe a little nasty. Not that bad, but it's a little nasty. Paul, I don't know what Dan D'Antoni is thinking, but he clearly hasn't done enough to keep Micah Handlogten on the team. This is just another example of his poor coaching skills and lack of leadership. If he can't keep his players motivated and committed to the team, then he doesn't deserve to be the head coach. Appreciate that response. 3-year contract, kids. 3-year contract. Yes, Marshall had a successful season. No, Marshall did not find postseason play. That sort of negates the success. You have like a really, really good season, and you win a lot of games, and then you miss the last 2. The last 2 were important because, one, the last regular season game would have got you in the NIT. That would have been a great benchmark. Hey, Marshall had a successful season. Marshall won the regular season title in conference, and Marshall's worst case going to the NIT. So now that doesn't happen. Okay. Go for the big one here. Let's see if we can get the team in the NCAA tournament. Just win the tournament, right? Win the tournament. And Marshall can't do that. So on the one hand, you had a great season. You had a lot of wins. On the other hand, it kind of gets deflated a little bit because you don't make postseason. That's sort of the give and take. Hey, great season, but wasn't good enough to get an at-large bid. And Marshall wasn't able to seal the deal in the tournament to go get an at-large bid or win the tournament and get the automatic, or even win the conference and get an automatic bid to the NIT. I get it. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. More of your texts coming up, but we're going to talk to Ari Agnus when we continue. Let's talk about what's happening with the volleyball team. Show them a little support. And I don't know if we're going to get softball in. The schedule is updated. with the weather being what it is, first game is going to be tomorrow at 10 a.m. Second game will be Sunday at 10 a.m. with the second game to follow. So doubleheader on Sunday and 10 a.m. for the first game. Hopefully we'll beat out the weather. And that's going to be the schedule for softball. But if you're going to softball tomorrow, why not stop over to the Henderson Center afterwards and check out the volleyball team. Ari Agnus joins me on the other side of the break. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Friday, March 31st edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. You know, the weather's going to be pretty nasty this weekend. So what's a better way to enjoy your weekend by going inside to the Cam Henderson Center? You can watch some volleyball action. Marshall's volleyball coach, Ari Agnus, who is a stranger to this program. We never can get her on the show. She's with us now to talk about volleyball. You're always there for me. You know, if I call you, you say, "Hey, let's do it." You're always there for me.
All the time. You're the only thing that matters in my life. So we've got to keep it that way.
You know, I'm recording this, and now I'm going to use that. I'm just
That's
going to be.
all right.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm using that. That's going to be a liner next week on this show.
You deserve it.
Oh, I like that. That's another liner there. You don't know how this radio thing works, do you? You say things like that, I repurpose them.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's okay. It's fun.
You said spring was fun earlier when we were talking because I was texting you and saying, "Hey, can we talk about the upcoming match?" And I said, "Let's talk about Davis and Elkins." And you're like, "No, let's not talk about Davis and Elkins. That got changed." So you got a schedule change. What happened?
Yeah, and honestly, the good and bad about spring is it is kind of just ever flowing, and it's very nonchalant in a lot of ways because all that any coach really wants to do is to be able to play somebody other than themselves. Doesn't count for anything. Half the time people don't keep score. Like you just kind of play for time, or you'll play five no matter what. So when they had emailed they've got some sickness going around, and they're still trying to find their next head coach. So I sympathize and empathize with them and hope that they all feel better. But we were lucky enough that we just made a phone call to Kentucky Christian, and in about 20 minutes he called back and said they were good to go. So that's all we can ask for. You only get 4 play dates, so to be able to just have 3 of those at home and play on the new Terraflex floor in front of our crowd is that's more important than who we play, because right now all we're worried about is our side of the floor.
Don't you wish you could just make schedule changes like that in a whim? Like just call someone up. "Hey, you want to play?" "Yeah, sure. We'll come down. What? Yeah, what? 5 o'clock? Let's do it. We'll
right?
Get in a bus and we'll be right there."
It was almost too easy. It felt weird. It was just one of those things where I'm like, this can't be real life. This can't be how easy that was.
There wasn't any arm twisting or anything like that. It was just, "Hey, pick up the phone." "Yeah, sure, I'll come to Huntington. Not a problem."
Absolutely. They're a great staff. They're a great program. So we're excited to host them, which I think is just why, everybody gets excited, especially to play on the Terraflex floor, that everybody wants a shot at that, just to feel it and see it. And so it's kind of, we've got that kind of golden egg in our pocket, if you will.
So let's talk about the Terraflex floor. That, you barely see it when you come into the Henderson Center. You barely see it. It sort of blends in. Yeah, it doesn't stand out at all. It's just it's another floor that's out there. How much involvement did you have in designing that? Because that thing pops.
It pops, right? Honestly, everything has been so collaborative. So. Definitely had a big part. Phil in our facilities, Christian, Deb, it was a constant kind of back and forth of different designs. And I love that there's so much green. I know when you see the floor, it's like, oh my gosh, where's the green? Well, in the cam, it's all green. So to have the black and then the outline, it lets you know it's a court, right? It's a volleyball court that to not fill in that green and let the green on the sidelines pop is just, when you walk in there, it really does pop. And you look right above from there, and on the video board is a green and the herd. So we didn't want to just have like a mirror image of that on the floor. We wanted something different, something new. And I love that, like, between football and basketball, and none of this was intentional because we were completely designing ours by like on our own kind of page, but everything is so cohesive. Even upstairs in Gullickson, everything has the black outline. Everything has pops of green and kind of this fierce new takeover look, but it's so beautiful. It's so good for the girls. It's so good for our program. It's an unbelievable step in such a beautiful direction that it's been a lot of fun to play on. The girls really enjoy it, and I just think it makes a statement that we're a volleyball school, and we are invested in all of women's sports, but in volleyball specifically, which as a coach and recruiter you can't run from that. It's amazing.
You mentioned Gullickson. Is there plans to have a similar surface for practice as well? What's the arrangement look like there?
No. We'll just keep. So there's 3 courts up there that we get for volleyball, and then they have 3 basketball courts, and then they've got the main court that you can set up hoops with for men's and women's basketball. So what's really great is for a practice venue, all we want are the 3 courts. All we want are to be able to have 3. It's such a beautiful space because in between the courts, you're not scrunched together. So we get a lot of training done in there, and it's just phenomenal. It's, the fans are such a huge difference, but just the paint, like, I think for all these years, it's kind of like, well, like don't push money in there because it's old and, you can't get air conditioning. And I'll tell you what, that paint is unbelievable. So the Skaggs family has truly blown it out of the water with allowing such beautiful renovations come to life.
Let me tell you my experience with Marshall Volleyball and Gullickson Hall. Before I began paid radio, I did PA for a few games for Marshall Volleyball back in the day. And the PA device I had to use was like this CB radio type handheld device in Gullickson. And the scoreboard was one of those, it looked like it was from the 60s or 70s devices. Yeah, you're getting the idea in your head.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
No, that I'm just completely flipped out about what Gullickson looks like compared to where it was.
Isn't it wild?
It's amazing.
It's this whole, I didn't really, I understood the process of the Pathway Project, but I swear we find ourselves going from the office to the CAM or to Gullickson, which is the Skaggs Family Practice Facility. So I've got to start saying that properly. But we go, and it's like there's something new every day. We're like, oh my God, this wasn't here yesterday, or this wasn't here yesterday, or that's new. Like, it's unreal. Even the floors, and I think it's like 1.3 miles worth of flooring that they're putting down, and it's just so cool that I think that our student athletes, they deserve it. They deserve to walk down a hallway and see awesome photos of themselves. They deserve to walk on great linoleum floor. They deserve to see big Nike checks everywhere, So it is, if you haven't visited, I would say it's like call one of us, let us take you on a tour when it's done, because again, I don't even know. It's like, when is it done? I have no clue because there's so much going on. So it's unreal. It's like, yes, the big ones, Gullickson and CAM, but the Pathway Project, where our student athletes spend the most time walking from the training room to the equipment room to the weight room, all of those things are the details that Christian and his team have put into place that they just matter. They just really, really matter.
Okay, who's got the nicer locker room, you or basketball? Who's got the better setup?
I think we have the better setup just because it's our team, and I won't let anybody tell me otherwise.
Okay, fair.
I think, and we're really spoiled because we have our locker room and we have a game day locker room. So maybe us because we've got double the take there. So, and we just got brand new furniture in there, and I think what's cool is our team takes such good care of it, and they're so respectful of their spaces that it makes you just want to keep doing new things and nice things and give them everything that they deserve. So, I think that's the thing too that we're trying to get to, is that every student athlete, no matter what sport, feels so seen and so valued, and you can just see it coming to fruition right now. It's just amazing. Like I have nothing. I don't understand what to say negatively other than question mark. I'd have nothing.
Ari Agnus is with us. She has more than she says. She has stuff. We should actually talk about the floor as far as playing on the floor. We've talked about all the amenities and everything and the paint scheme, and hopefully there's more paint coming. I've got some ideas, but we'll keep those to myself. What's it like playing on the surface? What was the reaction from everyone?
Gosh, it was so cool. So it saves your knees, right? With the amount of jumping that we do, between jumping and diving, it's a volleyball player's dream, because there's a cushion. It's not a super thick floor. It's not like, a foot or anything, but it is definitely enough to where you're not jumping on hard wood. So from your knee standpoint, from your joint standpoint, for how we land, then on a diving standpoint, you're able to push and kind of like go further. You don't stick. So, I mean, it's definitely, it's not just a pretty thing, right? There is a competitive advantage to having one. There's an advantage just to play on one, because that's what they use at the NCAA tournament. That's what they use. They've gotten rid of the sport court everywhere, and they just lay down a TerraFlex floor because it's the best. It is the best possible floor that you could go on. And then on top of that, to basketball's credit, they don't have to deal with our taped lines down anymore. So it saves that floor. Like, it's just such a win for both programs. And we're so lucky to be at a university that both coaches support volleyball so well. And I'm obviously just assuming Kim does. She's been awesome since I've met her. But, we wrote everybody a thank you note, because when that floor goes down, it's down, say maybe Wednesday to Saturday. And that means they can't practice down there. And Danny wrote me one back, and it's just thoughtful. Like, they want the best for everybody here. And usually there's a lot of bickering. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of, well, it's my gym and it's my season and blah, blah, blah. And we just don't have that here. And especially them coming off the awesome season that they had, for him to feel that way for us. I mean, he comes to all of our home games. It was just such a cool moment for us.
Ari Agnus is with us, head coach of the Marshall volleyball team. Kentucky Christian coming to the Cam Henderson Center tomorrow to play on the new floor, the new surface. So when you go out recruiting now, you go across the country or you hit the transfer portal, how big really is the floor? Is that is it huge?
The amount of, honestly, what's funny is we went to Indianapolis a couple weekends ago, and I had more college coaches stopping me to be like, what is it like? Like, they, we had the Illinois State head coach who used to be at Wright State. Allie came up to me and she was like, this is such a big deal. Like, this is just such a big deal. And I'm like, girl, I know. Like, but it was so cool how many people either texted us or while we were out were just like, that floor is unbelievable. So it's A, got people talking, B, it puts Marshall volleyball on the map, right? But it's such a big tool. It's such a beautiful thing that we can use to just say, because when you go to school, you don't want to be the sport that's behind another sport. And to say, like, look, our university cares this much that they got us our own floor, right? Like, this is going to be a volleyball school. Every sport should feel that way. Soccer should feel like it's a soccer school. Football should feel like it's a football school. Basketball should feel like it's a basketball school, because of how the community and how the university rally around them. And I have yet, like, right now, I feel like I'm a softball school and a baseball school. It just, like, every time it just keeps turning with the season of the sport that we're in. And I just think that that's something really it's just not around the world or the country, I suppose.
Ari Agnus is with us in action tomorrow. There won't be any rain in the Henderson Center, so you can go check out volleyball action against Kentucky Christian with the most fun squad on campus.
Absolutely.
I go to, but first of all, you probably didn't see me because I was up on the porch. I had, that's where I had to do my show live, from the porch. And you didn't see me, but I saw you and your squad, and you're all taking selfies, and And I thought the volleyball team's at a rock concert here for this press conference here. What's going on?
You know, we have a good time. You got to have some fun in order to win. And it's the first time, it's things going on, but no, it'll be a lot of fun. You know, I think last week we had a lot that we could grow on, and it takes a lot of patience to get through the spring, to not just put what in my head is the best lineup, or as a staff we feel, and give everybody a chance to showcase what they got and find actual pieces that we really, really need to focus on and work on. So we've been doing that all week. This week felt really, really good practice-wise. Today was a little slow, but they kicked it into high gear towards the end there. So I'm excited about tomorrow. You know, I think that the lessons we're learning are, whether it's a team that's supposed to beat us or a team we're supposed to beat, we have to play our best brand of volleyball, and we're still learning how to do that consistently. So hopefully we're, you know, just a little bit more consistent than last Saturday, right? Like, you want to shoot for the moon and land on the stars, and just kind of progressively get better, and not just, oh yeah, okay, now we're 100 times better than we were last Saturday. Well, that's just really unrealistic. Can we get 1% better? Can we get 10% better? Can we then build on that for the next match? So I'm proud of their work. I'm really excited for them to be able to showcase at home again just everything we're working on.
Ari Agnus is with me. It is her building. It is the Cam Anderson Center, and it is a volleyball school tomorrow, Kentucky Christian. Good seeing you. We'll get you back soon. Hopefully we can talk about, I don't know, some more victories, because you get 3 of these things at home. So hopefully we
get 3 at home. That's exactly it.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see a lot of people show up tomorrow, because, again, it's going to be rainy and nasty tomorrow. Just
come inside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Come take a break, get out of the rain. It'll be fun.
Ari Agnus, my guest, always dependable, always there for me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll get your text in, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. More coming up on this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
More time for your text at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Let's go back to the text line. We've been talking about Marshall losing Micah Handlogten to the transfer portal. And the texter writes in and says, what's with assuming Dan D'Antoni did not try hard to keep Micah? Look at the list of schools interested. It would be difficult for any mid-major to keep Micah in today's environment and NIL. You're competing with ACC and other high majors. You want to know the list? I got the list. Bill Cornwell gave me the list actually about 15, 20 minutes ago while I was talking to Ari Agnus. The list of possible landing spots for Micah Handlogten. We'll start with the one nobody in Huntington wants him to end up at, and that's West Virginia. Could you imagine how unhappy would you be if West Virginia got Micah Handlogten? He's up with Coach Huggins. How many of you would be that sick to your stomach? Welcome to the transfer portal. It giveth and it taketh. Indiana has been mentioned as a location. Clemson, Arkansas, Florida, Virginia, South Carolina, Georgia. The list goes on. Those are some of the destinations that have been mentioned as reaching out and having interest in Micah Handlogten. Which one would you take? Which one would you take? Indiana looks pretty good, right? Indiana would be a good place. You think Micah Handlogten would work well under Bob Huggins' system? And there's more, I'm sure, that'll be expressing interest. So a lot of schools interested in Micah Handlogten. I mean, that says something positive about the kid, and, of course, that Marshall was able to bring him in first, and then he decided to look at opportunities elsewhere. All right, here's a long one from the text line. Tough loss on losing Handlogten, but until Dan D'Antoni realizes that there is hardly any loyalty left, then more of this will happen. He has players on the end of the bench that played in 6 to 8 games on the season that he should have worked with at the end of the basketball season to move to a scholarship at the Division II or NAIA level, and started using transfer portal like 99% of the other college coaches do. I now feel we are going to lose 1 or 2 other prominent players on our roster. I hope our coach is ahead of the game and not playing from behind. Dan's philosophy, he likes bringing kids in, watching them grow, watching them develop, and be lifelong members of the herd. That's been his philosophy. He likes working and developing players that way. He doesn't want to go to pick up 3 or 4 players and then pick up another new 3 or 4 players to replace those players because those were one-year players. I mean, now, you can't just recruit your entire team and hope that it stays together. You're going to actually have to use every tool at your disposal. So I do agree that Marshall, if not, should be using every tool possible to build the best team possible. I'll use football as an example. Charles Huff, the head coach of the Marshall football team, said that his job is to bring the best possible talent and people and players to Marshall University. You got to go get the best talent you possibly can. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he has indicated that he's sort of like a CEO. He's got to go get the best people and talent possible. Best players he can possibly get. The best people, coaches, support staff. He's got to go get and attract the best people possible. So he's trying to build a program which will attract the very best possible. So you saw a lot of improvements facility-wise and you're seeing that with the Henderson Center too, so I'm not saying that's not happening, but you've seen a lot of changes with football, more investment in football, and you have a coach who is running his team like he's not just the head coach, but he's the CEO. I'm trying to put together the best team possible. I need the very best coaches I can possibly attract that fit what we're doing. I need the very best talent I can attract. How do I do that? I got to go recruit it. I got to go recruit that talent. I also got to make sure that Marshall is a destination that talent wants to come to. I got to make sure Marshall's successful. And every sport is trying to do its best. Every coach at every level is trying to do its best to attract. And the transfer portal is still new. It's not that new, but it's still new. And so it's going to take an adjustment for a lot of coaches. You have different coaches of age and experience. Some have used the transfer portal a lot. Some have not. Varying degrees of success. Look at FAU, for example. And honestly, this was brought up. I asked, why can't Marshall be like FAU? And then a couple of you reminded me, well, one, the beach, which I say on any given day, it's just as nice on the sandy shores of the Ohio River. I would say that any given day, it's very nice. You could hang out. Hopefully, the Ohio River won't flood, and you can go fishing on a nice day. You can go boating on the Ohio River. It's really underrated, the Ohio River. No, of course it's not. It's a different experience. The beach. You go to FAU, it's fun and sun. You come to Huntington, the sun's trying to come out now, looking out the window, but yeah, it's been raining all day. It's been nasty. Yeah, I don't think that's the only reason why you attract players, but it's a nice feather in your cap. It's a nice way to say, hey, all things being equal, look how nice it is out here. Look how fun it is. Look at this. Wouldn't you want to come here, all things being equal? If the choice was that hard to make, I think FAU can say, but look at this. Look at what we've got this beach here. Look at this. You can see the beach. We'll take a walk on the beach if you like. And that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate everyone being with us today. We'll get more of your text in on Monday. Hopefully we'll have a great weekend. Don't forget we've got the Final Four coming up Saturday, then Monday. Saturday, then Monday. And then we're full steam ahead with baseball, as we'll have Pirates baseball on Sunday and then throughout the season once we get past basketball. So basketball weekend with a little baseball thrown in. And then after the national championship game on Monday, full steam ahead for baseball. But that's in the next few days. Have a great night, everyone, here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I've been your host, Paul Swann. You can find the show on our podcast page. Just search The Drive with Paul Swann on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great night, everyone.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington. This is your radio home for Pittsburgh Pirates baseball, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.